guys, welcome back to Clever News. You all remember back in early April when Amanda Bynes was arrested in West Hollywood for a DUI.
Hollywood once promised eternal fame, money, and adoration. But behind the red carpets and flashing cameras were empty rooms, silent addictions, and careers slowly collapsing out of sight. This is not a story about failure. It's about the hidden cost of fame and what happens when the spotlight finally turns away. Corey Haim. At one point, Corey Haim was everywhere. A teen idol with boyish charm and sad eyes, starring in hit films like Lucas and The Lost Boys. At his peak, he received nearly 2,000 fan letters a week. Teenage girls crowded the street outside his home, chasing a dream that Hollywood had carefully manufactured. But fame came early, and so did the damage. Behind the scenes, Corey was quietly introduced to drugs at an age when most kids were still learning who they were. What began as pressure relief slowly became dependency. As the roles dried up in the early 2000s, the money disappeared just as fast. Addiction filled the silence left by a fading career. In 2001, the world saw a different Corey on True Hollywood Story. He was living in a small garage apartment with his mother, disoriented, struggling to finish sentences. Cameras captured him desperately editing a demo reel, hoping casting agents would remember his name. A pawn shop owner later recalled Corey begging for $3, just enough to buy a slice of pizza. When desperation peaked, dignity followed. Corey tried selling clumps of his hair and even an extracted tooth on eBay. Not for attention, just survival. By the time he died in 2010 from pneumonia, the former star had so little left that his family was forced to ask the public for donations to cover his funeral expenses. The boy who once had Hollywood at his feet left this world quietly, forgotten by the system that built him and then walked away. Corey Haim's story isn't about weakness. It's about what happens when a child is turned into a product and discarded when the profit runs out. Have you ever experienced extreme poverty? Comment 1 if yes, comment 2 if no. Margot Kidder. To millions of moviegoers, Margot Kidder will always be Lois Lane, the fearless reporter standing beside Superman, confident, sharp, unforgettable. In the late 1970s and early 80s, she was at the peak of Hollywood success, starring opposite Christopher Reeve and becoming one of the most recognizable faces in the world. But off-screen, Margot's life was far less heroic. In 1990, everything changed. A devastating car accident on a film set left her with severe spinal injuries, temporarily paralyzed and unable to work for nearly 2 years. In Hollywood, time away is dangerous. Roles vanished. Phone calls stopped. Medical bills and debt replaced red carpets and premieres, eventually pushing her into bankruptcy. The physical pain was only the beginning. By 1996, Margot suffered a public and frightening mental breakdown. She disappeared for days, later found homeless sleeping in cardboard boxes, wandering through strangers' backyards. When police and reporters finally located her, she was barely recognizable. Her hair had been hacked off, teeth were missing. The woman who once symbolized strength and intelligence looked utterly abandoned by the industry that once celebrated her. Yet Margot survived. She slowly rebuilt her life away from Hollywood, retreating to Montana in search of peace and distance from the spotlight that had burned her so deeply. For years, she lived quietly, far from fame, carrying scars both visible and unseen. In 2018, Margot Kidder died at the age of 69. Her death was later ruled a suicide caused by an overdose of alcohol and drugs. It was a tragic ending, but also a sobering reminder. Her story isn't just about mental illness or bad luck. It's about how Hollywood glorifies strength on screen while often abandoning those who break in real life. Margot Kidder flew alongside Superman, but when she fell alone. Leif Garrett. In the 1970s, Leif Garrett wasn't just famous, he was everywhere. A golden-haired teen idol with boyish looks and catchy pop songs, his face filled magazines, posters, and bedroom walls across America. To millions of young fans, Leif was the dream, youthful, untouchable, and destined for a lifetime in the spotlight. But Hollywood rarely protects its children. As the cheers grew louder, so did the temptations. Fame came faster than maturity, and drugs entered Leif's life before he fully understood their cost. By the early 1980s, the industry that once celebrated him had already begun to move on. His music career faded, and the acting roles that followed were mostly forgettable, low-budget films that barely echoed his former success. Then came the guilt that would haunt him for decades. In a tragic car accident, one of Leif's closest friends was left paralyzed. Leif survived, but emotionally, he never escaped that moment. The weight of responsibility, combined with addiction, pushed him further into self-destruction. Drugs became both an escape and a punishment. By the mid-1980s, the teen idol era was officially over. Arrests followed 2004, 2006, and again in 2010, each one reinforcing how far he had fallen from his early promise. Jail time replaced recording studios. Courtrooms replaced red carpets. Financially, the collapse was just as brutal. Despite once being one of the most recognizable young stars in America, Leif Garrett's net worth dwindled to almost nothing. Fame had given him everything, then quietly took it all back. Leif Garrett's story is not just about addiction. It's about what happens when a child is handed adult-level fame without protection, guidance, or an exit plan. His life became a cautionary tale, proof that in Hollywood, success can be instant and disappearance even faster. Lonnie Willison. There was a time when Lonnie Willison seemed to have it all. She was a fitness model, a magazine cover girl, and a familiar face on red carpets in the early 2000s. Bronzed skin, confident smile, the image of health and success. To the outside world, Lonnie represented the California dream in its purest form. But that dream didn't last. Behind the glamour, Lonnie struggled quietly with mental health issues and substance abuse, battles that worsened after her divorce from Baywatch actor Jeremy Jackson in 2014. What followed was a rapid and brutal unraveling. Unable to work due to a mental breakdown, her income vanished. Bills piled up. Debt swallowed what little stability remained. By 2016, Lonnie had lost her rented apartment. Soon after, she could no longer afford her car. The woman once photographed under flashing cameras was suddenly invisible, slipping through the cracks of a city built on appearances. Not long after, Lonnie Willison was spotted living on the streets of Los Angeles. Photos showed a haunting transformation. Gaunt, exhausted, missing teeth, pushing a cart through Santa Monica sidewalks. The former cover girl looked like a ghost of her past life, barely recognizable to those who once admired her. There were no movie contracts to fall back on. No safety net. just concrete, silence, and survival. What makes Lonnie's story especially disturbing is how quickly it happened. One moment she was part of Hollywood's surface-level elite. The next, she was sleeping outside, battling addiction and untreated mental illness in public view while the world kept moving. Lonnie Willison's fall isn't about scandal or crime. It's about neglect, about how beauty and visibility are celebrated, but vulnerability is ignored. Hollywood loved her image, but when the image cracked, it looked away. Her story forces an uncomfortable question. How many others disappear the same way without cameras to document the fall? Would you be willing to spend your own money to buy Lonnie Willison a sandwich? Comment 1 if yes. Wesley Snipes. For a time, Wesley Snipes was untouchable. In the late 1980s and 1990s, he became one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, charismatic, athletic, and commanding the screen with ease. Films like Mo Better Blues, New Jack City, Jungle Fever, and White Men Can't Jump cemented his status. But it was the Blade trilogy that transformed him into a global action icon. With fame came fortune, millions of dollars flowing in at the height of his career. And that's where the downfall began. While Wesley Snipes was earning close to $40 million between 1999 and 2004, he made a decision that would ultimately cost him his freedom. He failed to file federal tax returns and went so far as to claim he was a non-resident alien, not legally required to pay United States taxes. It wasn't a misunderstanding, it was defiance. The government didn't see it that way. Snipes was convicted on 3 misdemeanor counts of failing to file tax returns. Despite offering to repay part of his debt, estimated at more than $23 million, the court handed down a sentence that stunned Hollywood: 3 years in federal prison. For a man who once ruled the box office, prison was the ultimate fall from grace. When Wesley Snipes was released in 2013, the industry he left behind had moved on. The roles were smaller, the spotlight dimmer. While he did return for a handful of films and television appearances, the era of leading man dominance was over. Unlike some fallen stars, Snipes didn't vanish into addiction or homelessness, but his story carries a different warning. It proves that fame and money do not place anyone above consequences. Power without accountability can collapse just as fast as obscurity. Wesley Snipes didn't lose everything, but he lost time, reputation, and control. And in Hollywood, that can be just as costly. His story reminds us, success doesn't protect you from the system. It only makes the fall more public when you challenge it. Erin Moran. America first met Erin Moran as a smiling teenager on Happy Days. At just 13 years old, she played Joni Cunningham, the sweet, familiar little sister in one of television's most beloved sitcoms. Week after week, millions watched her grow up on screen. To the audience, Erin's future looked secure, almost guaranteed. But television fame doesn't grow with you. When Happy Days ended in 1982, Erin hoped to stay in Hollywood. Instead, the phone stopped ringing. A short-lived spin-off failed to revive her career, and suddenly the industry that had raised her no longer had a place for her. Erin later admitted she was battling depression quietly, privately, while watching opportunities slip away. Without steady work, stability disappeared. By 2010, Erin Moran lost her California home to foreclosure. With nowhere else to go, she moved to Indiana to live with her mother-in-law in a small trailer. The former TV star once beamed into living rooms across America, was now surviving far from the spotlight, struggling with finances and personal turmoil. Reports later revealed that Erin was eventually kicked out of the trailer after a drunken altercation, leaving her effectively homeless in her final years. There were no comeback stories, no redemption arcs, just silence. In 2017, Erin Moran died at the age of 56. Toxicology reports showed no illegal drugs in her system. The cause of death was complications from stage 4 cancer. She died broke, largely forgotten, after a lifetime spent giving her childhood to entertainment. Erin Moran's story is one of the most unsettling Hollywood truths. Fame does not guarantee protection, care, or dignity. She gave audiences joy during their happiest moments, yet faced her darkest ones alone. Her life forces a hard question. What happens to child stars when the applause fades and no one is waiting behind the curtain? Gary Coleman. Gary Coleman was one of the most recognizable child stars in American television history. As Arnold Jackson on Different Strokes, his catchphrases, sharp wit, and oversized personality made him a household name. Week after week, millions laughed with him. Fame came early, and so did the expectations. But behind the laughter was a life already stacked against him. Gary was born with serious kidney disease and underwent 2 transplants before adulthood. The medical complications stunted his growth, leaving him just 4 feet 8 inches tall. While his size made him perfect for child roles, it also locked him into an image he could never escape. As Gary grew older, Hollywood didn't know what to do with him. The money should have protected him. It didn't. Despite earning millions as a child star, Gary discovered much of his fortune had been mismanaged and taken by the very adults meant to protect him. In 1989, he sued his parents and business advisor and won. But the damage was already done. Legal battles drained his finances, and by the late 1990s, Gary Coleman declared bankruptcy. Health problems, depression, and substance abuse followed him into adulthood, playing out publicly in tabloids and courtrooms. The former sitcom star took security guard jobs and reality TV appearances just to survive, each one a painful reminder of how far he'd fallen from his childhood peak. When Gary Coleman died in 2010 at the age of 42, his estate was shockingly small. In both life and death, there was little left to show for years of success. The boy who once carried a hit television show on his shoulders was ultimately left with almost nothing. Gary Coleman's story isn't about bad choices, it's about exploitation, about a system that turned a sick child into a product, extracted every ounce of value, and walked away when the spotlight dimmed. He made America laugh, but behind the scenes, no one was laughing with him. If you've watched until now, the next character is the one that will truly shock you. Brett Butler. At her peak, Brett Butler was one of the most powerful women on television. As the sharp-tongued, working-class mother in Grace Under Fire, she wasn't just starring in a hit sitcom, she was carrying it. The show dominated ratings in the 1990s, and Brett became a symbol of strength, resilience, and no-nonsense humor in American households. But behind the laughter, chaos was growing. Off-camera, Brett Butler was fighting a relentless battle with drug addiction. Rehab visits became routine. Her behavior on set grew increasingly erratic, unpredictable, and impossible to manage. In 1998, the unthinkable happened. She was fired from her own show. Without its star, Grace Under Fire was canceled shortly after. With her career collapsing, Brett made a series of devastating financial decisions. She trusted the wrong people, spent recklessly, and lost control of her money. The fame that once protected her now made her downfall quieter, but no less brutal. By 2011, Brett Butler was living in homeless shelters in Georgia. The woman who once commanded millions per episode now relied on temporary beds and donated meals. Interviews later revealed the depth of her isolation, no safety net, no steady work, and very few people left who could help. Addiction had taken more than her career. It had taken her stability, dignity, and sense of identity. She eventually returned to Los Angeles, landing occasional television roles and small stand-up gigs. It looked like a comeback until the COVID-19 shutdown erased what little momentum she had rebuilt. Once again, Brett faced eviction. Once again, survival became the priority. In a moment that shocked fans, one of her closest friends launched a GoFundMe campaign to keep her from losing her apartment. Over $12,000 was raised not to revive her career, but simply to keep a former TV icon housed a little longer. Brett Butler's story is devastating because it breaks the illusion completely. Success didn't fail her overnight, it faded slowly, quietly, while addiction did the rest. She made America laugh during its best years of television, but when the laughter stopped, she was left fighting alone. And that's the part Hollywood never puts in the script. Amanda Bynes. For a generation, Amanda Bynes was comedy gold. As a child star on All That and The Amanda Show, she was fast, fearless, and effortlessly funny. Hollywood loved her. Audiences trusted her. By her late teens, she had successfully transitioned into film stardom, headlining box office hits and becoming one of the most recognizable young actresses in America. As the pressure mounted, Amanda began to struggle with her mental health. Erratic behavior, public incidents, and troubling social media posts replaced red carpet appearances. What once seemed like tabloid exaggerations slowly revealed itself as something far more serious. In the early 2010s, Amanda's life played out painfully in public. Arrests, hospitalizations. A conservatorship that stripped her of control over her own finances and decisions. Hollywood, once so eager to profit from her talent, watched from a distance as her career collapsed in real time. For years, Amanda vanished from acting entirely, retreating from the industry that raised her. When she resurfaced, it wasn't for a comeback film, but for court hearings, rehabilitation, and quiet attempts to rebuild a sense of normalcy away from fame. Amanda Bynes didn't fade because she lost talent. She faded because fame arrived before stability, before protection, before she had the tools to survive it. Her story mirrors so many before her. A gifted child turned into a brand, pushed forward until something breaks. And when it does, the system doesn't rush to help, it steps back and waits. Amanda's fall isn't a punchline, it's a warning. Because Hollywood knows how to create stars, but it has never learned how to take care of them once they start to fall. They were once loved by millions, but when the spotlight faded, silence took its place, and that silence is the real ending Hollywood never shows. If these stories moved you, make sure to subscribe for more untold Hollywood truths, because some stories deserve to be remembered.